Squadron. Hunt down this Starhawk and eliminate it.
Gladly, Admiral Sloan.
Over the course of the story, you'll fly as two pilots on opposite sides of the war. And, like all modes in Star Wars Squadrons, you'll have the option to experience every mission fully immersed in VR.
Wedge Antilles, Rogue Squadron. I hear you're the reason I was able to finally get a comm through.
Today, we're giving you a glimpse of an early Imperial mission behind enemy lines.
One of our spies, Agent Thorne, has discovered vital intelligence on Project Starhawk. Your mission is to extract her from an orbital outpost above Hosnian Prime. Behind enemy lines, you'll have to eliminate perimeter defenses.
The outpost is defenseless.
When you've secured the area, you will escort the Gladius to the outpost, and our extraction team will acquire Agent Thorne. Once Thorne is secure, reach your Gozanti cruisers and return to the Overseer.
Cover our escape and escort us to the jump point. We have Republic corvettes inbound. Move, Titan!
Gladius, change course and keep Agent Thorne safe. Titan 3, take out those fighters.
Understood. I'll handle it.
You have my thanks, Titan Squadron.
No time to celebrate. Move on.
Go, go, go!
Each mission will immerse you into the escalating conflict between the New Republic and a shattered empire. Debrief with your squad mates between missions.
You're our new wingmate.
Customize and master all 8 Starfighters and join the galaxy's finest.
I need you focused and ready to go.
From bombing runs at the Nadiri dockyards to setting a trap in the Xavian Abyss, the story of these rival squadrons will push the war to the brink and define the galaxy for years to come. I look forward to seeing you in combat October 2nd.
Squadrons, on me. Hold formation. It's not over yet.
Captain, the station is lost. Call off the attack.
Squadrons, disengage.
Return to the Overseer for extraction. Captain, come in. This is Titan 3. I'm pinned down.
Come on, we still have ties out.
We're not handing the enemy one more destroyer, Captain. The Overseer is leaving.
I'm not gonna make it. Thanks, Greg. I thought I was done for.
Get to the hangar, pilot.
All stations, light speed on my mark.
Come on.
is over, Imp.
Come in. Calling Titan Leader. Gray, do you read?
It's not over yet. Not for me.
Welcome, everybody, back to Summer of Gaming. I'm Max Scoville, joined by my good pal Brian Altano, and we are joined by Ian Fraser, who is the creative director from EA Motive, working on Star Wars Squadrons, a brand new space fighting game set in a galaxy far, far away. Ian, welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing okay. I'm happy there's new Star Wars games on the horizon. First things first. A lot of people, I think, that we've seen Starfighter games in the past. We've seen plenty of them. Can you talk a little bit about what sets Squadrons apart from previous games, especially what sets it apart from the Fighter Squadron mode in the Battlefront games?
Yeah, so there's two big things. The first is the fundamental gameplay. With Squadrons, we're trying to do something that focuses on immersion and depth. So it's a game that is from a first-person perspective and that has a lot of degree of control over the ships. So you have things like power management, moving between the different systems, or controlling your shields individually. The flight model is very robust, and all the ships handle a little bit differently. We're trying to do something that you can figure out how to get target and shoot lasers pretty quickly, but really getting into it and getting a high skill takes a while as you kind of learn all the ropes and learn the different ins and outs. So we're aiming for something that's very crunchy as far as experience goes. The other thing are the modes themselves. So you asked the question about Battlefront 2 Starfighter Assault. Those modes are all asymmetric. So one team on the offense, the defense. Our PvP modes, we have a couple of them. One is dogfight, which is a real basic, go blow up the enemy spaceships, and whoever blows up the most wins. So if you want something light and simple to hop into, that's really nice. Once players play the game a bit, they unlock another mode called Fleet Battles, and Fleet Battles are more of our large-scale mode. It's still 5 players versus 5 players, but they're supported by fleets of AI ships, both fighters and capital ships. And there, it's much more of a, first it is symmetrical. Each side has an equal footing between the different capital ships and things, at least at the start. And then you have this sort of back and forth tug of war over the course of the match based on the players' actions. And you're always kind of trying to divide who's focusing on fighting other players, who's focusing on objectives, and so on. It's a really kind of fluid experience.
No, that's awesome, and it sounded like Max's dog was doing some dog fighting back there too.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut the door and have him put to sleep.
At $40, this is a budget price game. I'm wondering what the sort of decision behind that is, because this is obviously one of the biggest franchises in the world. What sort of sparked that idea to basically reduce the price by $20 from what we're used to paying for a traditional AAA video game?
It's two things, really. The first is that Squadrons is a really focused experience. We're not trying to be all things to all people. We're a pilot game for players who want to hop into the cockpit, and that's all, but we want to do that really well. And so part of it's that. And the other part is just that we've always had kind of a, we say gift to the fans is something that's come up a lot as we work on this game. Obviously, we're a business. We need to have some money come in when we sell a game. But at the same time, we wanted to have the kind of the amount of value you get for the game feel generous. So like you pick this up and this is as much or more than you expected relative to what you put in. And so just across the board with our no MTX strategy, as well as the $40 price point, we want something where you pick it up and you just feel good about it.
Now you said no MTX strategy. I think that's about that's a group of words that I think a lot of people understand. But to completely sort of hit the hammer, nail on the head here, there are no microtransactions in this game. I feel like that.
Yeah, sorry, I should be clear about that. None at all. Yeah, yeah. It's we looked at possible different ways we could do the game. We certainly considered that, but in the end, again, that idea of feeling generous to the fans, feeling like something that the best way I can put it is it's kind of an old school mentality. You gave us your money. Here is the box. Yep. We hope you like what's in the box. Enjoy it. And so no microtransactions at all. Like you can't give us money to unlock things if you want to. Not even an option.
What if I see you on the street?
I mean, I'll personally take it. Like unmarked bills, brown paper bag, whatever works. But the company won't.
Got it.
Now, what's cool about this, though, is that there is a ton of customization and cosmetic options. Can you speak a little bit about that and sort of how robust that will be, both in terms of, I guess, character customization and ship customization?
Yeah, it is, as you say, both. It's both the character themselves. So when you start the game, you create 2 pilots, one for each faction, and those are the same characters that you'll play in multiplayer. So it kind of, you start off and you do the campaign, and they run through that. When you go into the multiplayer, it's those same characters. Your initial options of how you customize them are much more limited. It's, a handful of heads, body types, and things. Once you get into PvP, you start unlocking more options. So you start getting, alien heads, and you get more different outfits and things. So whereas your experience begins with, like, this is the classic Rebel flight suit, this is the classic TIE fighter outfit, or TIE pilot outfit. By the time you get into multiplayer, you can change that up more, both with the outfit your character's wearing, with their actual head, which can change their species to other aliens and things, in addition to just different looks. We have, actually right from the beginning, we have voice packs. So think like some of the older school RPGs, where you're actually deciding, like, I want to be the smarmy one. You pick that, and then your voice will reflect that kind of personality. And that's obviously you can use voice over IP, but we have sort of canned stuff in the game as well. So a player who doesn't want to be on the mic has a way to communicate, and it'll use that voice pack. So you have that from the outset. In PvP, you start getting into not only more pilot stuff, which is fun, but also, and there's things like victory poses after you win a match, other stuff like that highlights your pilot, which is just fun stuff. But separately, we have the ship customization. So there's the outside, obviously. We have different paint jobs and decals you can use to make your ship look like how you want. One of the fun things there that we're expecting to see, because we see it with our internal testing, is players deliberately, like, we're all going to be we're all, Green Squadron. We're all going to take that particular paint job or decal and try to match, which is fun. And then we also let you customize the inside of the cockpit, which is my personal favorite, partially because, it's a first-person dogfighter. You spend your time in the cockpit, so it's nice to be able to dress that up. But also, there's some fun stuff there. You got the the bobble-headed Ewok, which is reacting to physics, and just well, I don't want to spoil them all, but they're a lot of fun.
So there will be sort of unlockable things that you can put inside the ship too. That's super cool to hear.
Yeah.
Now, was there obviously you guys are big Star Wars fans? Was there a specific space battle in one of the films, or sort of like TV shows or anything like that like was kind of the core inspiration here, or is it more of just like a blanket approach to Star Wars ship battles? Like, was there one that really stuck out specifically for you guys?
I wouldn't say from an inspirational standpoint that there was. It wasn't like we went, it's that fight, that specific fight's what we want. I do think that we've seen a lot of different big inspirations from the films. We took, I think this was actually before we even started pre-pro. I'm trying to remember when this was now. When Last Jedi came out, we all went and watched that as a team. And seeing that opening maneuver where Poe is flying around the capital ships, and you see him, go under the shields and take this big kind of risk-reward maneuver. That's an example of a thing that inspired a mechanic for us. In Squadrons, you actually can fly under the shields, and there's sort of pros and cons to doing that. So that's a moment that directly inspired even a mechanic. As far as the general sort of choreography of the game, a lot of the stuff, obviously the original films are our biggest sources of inspiration. We're very much, there's a lot of nostalgia coming together in the design of the game and the feel of the game. But I think what Rogue One did, a lot of the space battle stuff from Rogue One is just outstanding. So I think we were inspired by that in a lot of ways, and obviously the addition of the U-Wing to our roster of ships is also because of that film.
Now, obviously there's going to be a ton of stuff to do in terms of multiplayer. Can you speak to how long the story campaign is?
It varies quite a bit from player to player, both just as a player, but also based on difficulty mode. We're still in the process of testing, so I'm very hesitant to go throwing out specific numbers, but we're trying to land on something that it feels still satisfying, but doesn't overstay its welcome. And I think I'm pretty happy with where we're at now, but not comfortable throwing out a number just yet.
Fair enough. Well, Ian, thank you so much for coming by and chatting. Star Wars Squadrons is out October 2nd, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
That is on PC, Xbox One, and PS4. Are there any plans for next-gen consoles?
We support the backwards compatibility, but there's no specific SKU for the next gen planned right now.
Yeah,
gotcha,
and you're coming
awesome.
to VR, which I'm very excited for.
Yeah, awesome. Actually, yeah, it's both on PC and PS4. More details on the specifics later, but I am really excited to say that it's the whole game. PvP, single player, all of it. If you want to play in VR, you can. You can even switch back and forth on the fly.
Well, sweet. Ian, thank you so much for chatting. I am looking forward to jumping in a cockpit in Star Wars Squadrons later this year.
Awesome.
This is it, Titan Squadron. Everything we've done has led to this. Finish those Vanguard scum.
This is Star Wars Squadrons.
I can't shake them.
Giving engines full power!
Think you can escape?
This is gonna be close.
Pilots. You are the Empire's strength. We do not accept defeat.
Remember why we fly. For hope. For the new republic.
Vengeance will be ours.
Seize that moment.
When the perfect shot makes history.
5 pilots.
1 squadron.
The galaxy's finest.
This IGN Plays live stream of EA's Star Wars Squadrons is presented by Star Trek Discovery on CBS All Access. Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to another IGN Plays live stream of a brand new game. I am Max Scoville, joined by my best friend in the whole world, Brian Altano, and today we are playing, well, actually, Brian's playing Star Wars Squadron, which is a brand new dogfighting game, which is out today. It just came out.
That's
I think
right.
It came out last night, maybe, depending where you are. This is on PC, PS4, Xbox One. It is entirely playable in VR, but it is also entirely playable on a normal screen. We're going to be playing the normal version, and we're going to be checking out the first hour and change, maybe, of the campaign. Yeah, this is. I guess we should address the elephant in the room. This is presented by Star Trek Discovery, Star Wars, Star Trek, together at last. 2020 is a weird year. Yeah, spaceships. Why not? Yeah, that being said, I know that people are, hesitant to, get excited about an EA game, and that, some people get riled up about, microtransactions and them just trying to, mine the gamers for their precious gold. But
right,
this is a $40 game that doesn't have microtransactions, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's right, Max. This is just launched today. It's $39.99. It's all on all the platforms you listed, and yet no microtransactions, no sort of like cosmetic, nickel and diming. This is a full-on campaign-driven, story-driven game that also has like a full-fledged multiplayer dogfighting, full ship customization, full pilot customization.
Yeah.
Tons of stuff you can unlock. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to jump into the story. We're going to start by sort of like introducing ourselves to the game a little bit here. And we're also going to create our first pilot and name him or her however we want, and get into the ship and start flying around. So let's, without further ado.
Yeah, and I'm keeping an eye on the chat on Twitch, on YouTube, and also on IGN.com. A lot of people asking questions like how long the campaign is. Can you do the Holdo maneuver? Yes, accidentally, probably.
Probably. I might hold some stuff.
Let's check out the game. Let's jump into this. So you've played a little bit of this, but you haven't played the entire thing, correct?
Yeah. And so we are going to start from the very beginning. just to get everybody accustomed. And so like my history with Star Wars games is probably like yours, Max. I played a lot of the classic, PC dogfighting, TIE Fighter style games back in the day. And then I got like really into a lot of the modes in Battlefront and Battlefront 2, which were super fun. And then last year, obviously Jedi Fallen Order, very different game, literally a lot more grounded than this one because it's not really about ship combat. And so I've never really been amazing at dogfighting. But
I would have occasionally really good runs in Battlefront, and I think it was just because less people were playing the Starfighter assault mode or whatever. Yeah, like I feel like you and me were both typically more drawn to the sort of the human driven games, and we're not like typically dogfighting types. But this one does have a fair amount of like there's a lot of character to it. So you're a bad guy. What's going on here?
So here we're starting out. I'm Captain Javes, and this is basically the tutorial where I'll be learning like the ins and outs. One thing to point out here, this entire game is locked into first person. So you cannot play the game in third person. You cannot really get out of your ship and walk around and see your character and stuff like that. And that's to sort of keep everybody in multiplayer on an even playing field, but also to really show off the interiors of these ships. The team at Motive did a phenomenal job of sort of crafting the HUDs and cockpits of various Star Wars ships, which is super cool. And so that is really where most of your readout will be. And you'll obviously be able to fully customize how much HUD elements you do want to see, which I really, really dig.
I've seen some stuff in the chat about our frame rate, and apologies. I think we might have a shoddy internet connection or something, but we're trying to get on top of that as soon as possible. But in the meantime, bear with us and pretend you're playing a PC game in 1997, Yeah, the first person thing, I'm wary of that. Like, I get it because it totally aids the immersion where like, only if you're on ayahuasca would you be flying a spaceship and seeing it from 15 feet behind you. Like that's
right.
You got to be pretty out there for that. But you can kind of be like, yeah, but if I was in the cockpit, it would look like this. And I like that all of the HUD stuff is incorporated into the actual game elements because like I'm dying to check this out in VR. People seem pretty excited about that.
Dude, yeah, me too. It's so you can play the entire game in PSVR we were reading, which is really cool. Plus, I believe with like the various Oculuses and HTC Vibes and all that fun stuff. One thing that you can't experience from where you guys are that I can tell you about right now is that the rumble in this game is awesome. We don't even have next gen consoles yet with 3D HD rumble and all that fun stuff. But the sort of like haptic feedback and the controls here, very subtle when you're pushing and pulling on the throttle, and also when you're firing lasers and stuff like that. It just feels really, really nice.
Yeah, I'm very curious if we get a next gen version of this game. I mean,
me too.
It's super common for games that come out this close to new consoles to get like be like, oh, now it's on this thing and it's got more, it's got ray tracing and bells and whistles and stuff.
This game's obviously out now, which is sort of at the finish line of the current generation. And so I would like to see something happen, in the future where it gets a full-fledged next gen patch on PS5 and Xbox Series X.
Room for Ren asks if we're going to show this in VR. I think we will not be playing it in VR just because you're in the process of moving and your PSVR headset is all hooked up elsewhere. But I think we have some VR gameplay that's both up on YouTube, but also we're going to check it out sort of after we get done streaming the game. We're doing like a little sort of post show after this in like probably an hour or so. And we're going to talk about some spaceships and Star Wars stuff and just kind of hang out and,
So our reviewer, Tom Marks, reviewed the single player campaign version of this game because I believe the multiplayer settings weren't like fully there yet. Whoa. And he gave it an 8, which is really cool. That's I believe that's great on our scale. But he also put up some gameplay of, I believe, 15 minutes of footage of him playing in VR, which is really, really great. So right here, I'm going to pop into the customization settings real quick just to show people. Obviously, lots and lots of different stuff you can work with here. Lots of different comfort settings, lots of different accessibility. EA did a really good job of accessibility stuff here, colorblind profiles, which is like, man, this is like pretty in depth.
Yeah. Again, I just want to point out you're playing on Xbox, is that right?
I'm playing on Xbox One X, correct.
And the frame rate issues are not on the console; it's on our stream connection, correct?
Yeah. We're trying our best over here.
We're doing what we can
in the work from home setup of 2020. This is one of those things we vigorously tech tested last night. And like your printer, when you're ready to use it, kind of went kaput on us right before things.
Yeah, it's like the Falcon's
but,
hyperdrive. That's except less cool and
yeah,
and
with more people watching. So yeah, Tom Marks gave it an 8. He put up some gameplay of the game running in VR, which he's super into. Anecdotally, I've sort of read from some people who are very experienced with VR, they have their sea legs, that the game is actually a little bit easier in VR. And I totally understand that because, you'll have a better understanding of where everything is all around you. This is also a game you really want to listen to. Because hearing
I'm glad we're talking
TIE
over
fighters,
it. That's going to be good.
Yeah, out of the corners of your ears and stuff like that, and having sort of an idea of the radial expectations of where these ships are coming in.
I want to point something out. We got this dude named ALMAO in the YouTube chat who says should have been $30. It should have been a $30 game. It's a $39 game. I don't know what to tell you, man. Like I like that it's already cheap. Like what do you?
Yeah. This is $39.99.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, from the jump, I remember like reading about this game and being like, I really like the idea of EA making something that's a little more bite-sized than this. And it feels to me like they just consistently kept putting more and more work into it. And it doesn't really feel like a budget game. It feels like a focused game. Like it doesn't feel like there's a lot of bloat.
That's been my biggest complaint with how EA handled the Star Wars stuff is that I think Battlefront 2 or Battlefront in general just tried to be everything. And it's like, I think from the get-go they didn't want to make something that was just a Star Wars version of Battlefield, but they had DICE make this entire game and it's like I would have been totally fine if that was just a reskin of Battlefield, because Battlefield had like really robust systems that they'd fleshed out and everything, and then they were like, oh, we've got to turn into a hero, you pick up a token, and to become a ship, you pick up a token. It's like that's not like let me get in the freaking vehicle and fly it around. Like let me have that actual act of engaging with the vehicle. And then I think more recently, like EA has like Respawn, I think, turned it around with Fallen Order. And again, this like a focused game. Like this is what we used to get all the time. We would get like, I feel like 3 Star Wars games every 2 years. Maybe I'm imagining that, but like we got a lot of them when LucasArts was cranking them out, and they were, simpler games and not necessarily always great. There were definitely some duds in there, but we had like a pretty steady flow of like, competent Star Wars games for a good amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a really cool mechanic in here that's very sort of like vintage Metroid Prime. It's your classic video game scanning mechanic, and I dig it. It lets you basically, at least narratively in this situation, get a kind of idea of what you're looking at and what's out there to find out who's good, who's evil. Obviously the galaxy is full of nefarious treachery and you can't really trust any of it. But yeah, back to what you were saying, Max, I feel like when they launched Battlefront 1 a few years ago, I believe in 2015 or 2014, they got a lot of flack from gamers, and justifiably so, for not really making like actual dogfighting that took place in space, right? People wanted, like, you could kind of fly and orbit over planets, but people really wanted to get like lost in the deep space and stuff. And they like slowly rectified that. Obviously those are games that there's that classic Star Wars sound.
Pew, pew, pew.
They rectified that because Battlefront 1 and 2 both grew a lot and evolved over time. And I think they both got where they wanted to get. But this is a game that from the jump knows what it wants to be and immediately dove into just being a full-fledged, fully focused, dogfighting game. But what I dig is that they really went in on a lot of the fun elements around that. Customization. You can do really weird stuff with your ship, like unlock, paint and stuff like that, and turn your TIE fighter pink.
Which is fun if you're playing. I guess your friends get to see it. Like that's probably cool for multiplayer. But like, I'm actually really curious to see what this looks like when multiplayer kind of gets off the ground, so to speak. And we've got a bunch of questions in the chat. If you have like basic questions about this game, there is the full review that Tom Marks put up of the campaign. He's still working on the multiplayer one because wanted to test it when the servers are actually up and everyone's playing. Yeah, it is a $40 game. It is locked into first person. You can play it entirely in VR, but it's not required. I'm seeing questions about the HOTAS Thrustmaster joystick. Somebody said if that works with it, and then somebody in a different chat was like, "I have massive dead zones on that." I don't have specific info on what flight sticks this might have issues with. That's like that sounds like a message board question to me.
Yeah,
you're just playing with an Xbox One controller, correct?
Yes, I would check the Reddit or possibly our review. You can also tweet at Tom Marks and he will give you information that you need. He will also give you a great recipe for pie. Tom is very astute in making pies from scratch. Yeah, Max, you and I haven't worked together in the same office in 8 months now, which is such a bummer. But one of the delights of working there was Tom Marks would consistently bring in fresh baked goods such as pies. You know,
that was awesome, except if we were like on diets and we're like, we're not having sugar this month. And then we'd come in and he'd be like, great news, everybody. I brought in 4 pies. Help yourself, everyone. And we'd just be like, oh.
That was definitely, yeah. There's no like, you know, keto, Whole30 paleo version of like a big cartoon rhubarb pie that a fox would or a wolf would smell under a windowsill in an old animated film. So anyway, yeah, this is Star Wars Squadrons.
Yeah, apologies for once again for any tech issues we're having. That is not the game. That is our stream. We're working on it. It is. I don't know. Our guy who knows how to plug the video in is the parents who help us set us up. Is they're not awake yet or they're busy or something. I don't know. We're on top of it. We're doing what we can. So
yeah,
bear with us.
We have top men in charge of making sure our stream doesn't look like a
no. I mean, we've got this cool motion blur and the pixelation and the choppiness to hide spoilers, so that you can play the game. It'll be totally fresh. It's a good system we're using here, blurring out our own live stream.
All right, here we go. Now we actually have some ship targets to fight.
So one thing I've heard is that sounds really promising about this is that when you're fighting like a Star Destroyer, I don't know if you've even done this yet, but it's more like a puzzle than it is like just a bullet sponge, or like they wanted specifically to make it like if you're trying to use fighter ships to take down like a massive enemy ship, like it's not just hit it with missiles until its life bar depletes. It's like you've got to disable enough parts of it in the right order.
Yeah, which I really dig. Some of these sort of like vintage Star Wars games let you kind of like piecemeal chip away at different parts of Star Destroyers, right? Like you'd have to get the turrets on the top of the ship and then fly underneath. The Rogue Squadron games were really good at that. And honestly, this feels like the closest to a spiritual successor to that franchise that we've gotten yet. Like I think this really hones in on that vintage sort of like N64, GameCube, PC, Rogue Squadron, Rogue Leader, that era. I don't know if you were into those games, Max, but those were a big deal for me back in the day. I bought the N64 expansion pack. I don't know if you remember that one.
Oh yeah.
It let you plug into the top and you could like see little R2-D2s and stuff. Like there were like actual extra droids and astromechs you would see running around.
That's so funny. I want them to bring back Rebel Assault. I want on rails, bad shooting, and FMV cutscenes. Like I want everyone's like, bring back Rogue Squadron, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. I'm like, what about Rebel Assault? Those games were not great. They could have been a lot better. Let's see. We got some questions here.
I do wonder, like, what will happen with the Star Wars license. Like, part of me is like, it feels like it took EA a while to get going, and they've kind of figured it out now towards the sort of tail end of the license. I believe there's a year or two left on it. But the other part of me wants to see what happens if, you know, a bunch of different studios kind of, you know, a bunch of different companies basically get their hands on different parts of it. Like, I'd be cool with getting more Fallen Order games and more games like this. And then, you know...
Yeah, I kind of wish that Disney had done with the Star Wars video game license what they've done with like Marvel TV shows, where basically they were like, yeah, Hulu, you get 3, and Netflix, you get 4 that we'll cancel, and we'll make our own, and also ABC, you can make something, and then also we have movie. Like, I just wish it was kind of scattered every which way, but instead it's like I think the problem is like EA makes they make like these focus group tested, like super streamlined, like monolithic games that have to appeal to everyone possible, and there's so many different little fragments of what a Star Wars game could be that like some people are like make, you know, X-Wing Alliance, some people are like make KOTOR 3, some people are like make Battlefront. It's just like I don't know, they tried to, you know, they made a something that's for everybody and no one at the same time, and it's like we're finally getting like smaller, more focused things, which is great.
I mean, I want a bunch of like weird Star Wars games. Like I want like you know, like a bartending game that takes place in the Mos Eisley Cantina, and I want like a cooking game that, you know, people are making food for.
The weird loophole is like EA has the exclusive deal on Star Wars video games, TM video games. But meanwhile, there's a bunch of studios that are doing stuff with VR. Like we got there's the Oculus game, the Vader Immortal. There's also like the Tales from Galaxy's Edge, which is going to be a crazy VR thing where you get to like, virtually go to Disneyland, basically.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, which is cool. And I think that the loophole there was that like VR experiences aren't quite the same as games. They're like a little bit different. There's also like a droid training that's coming out, but I don't know. It's cool to see, smaller takes on things. Again, everybody watching, apologies for the frame rate. We get it. We have people working on it, and I'm sorry. So, like, bear with us, or go play outside or something, or maybe don't go outside. I don't know. There's a disease out there, and also the air might be poisoned depending on where you live. So,
I do appreciate your positive attitude through all of this, Max. I think that's a very important.
Go do push-ups. I don't know. I don't know what to do anymore.
I hate push-ups.
Let's see. Little snippy.
So
it's what are you doing?
Here, listen, Max. So here we had a sort of like a turn of character. We had this TIE pilot who abandoned the job. He was like, you know what? If this is what we're doing, I don't want to be on this team anymore. So he is switching sides.
Huh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool. We're just a few minutes into the campaign, and Captain Javes is like, you know what? No.
That's a fun little bit. I like that. That's a sort of micro version of spoilers. What happened in Battlefront? Where it's like you start out as like a Imperial, and you're like, this is probably not going to win this one. This is not great. I've seen a lot of people questioning about the multiplayer number of players, which I think it's like 5v5 or 3v3 or something. And I think the logic there is to make it so that matches can populate faster.
Right.
Because I don't know, I think that they were hoping that they don't want situations for people just waiting around. And it's like, it's also, I think it's a smaller game in general. And like, that's, I'm pretty sure that's by design, like I imagine it's a lot harder to QA test like a 100-person game, but like, they're just I think they wanted to get it out. That little hands moving around and stuff. I can't wait to put this on VR. Just look at my legs. I love looking at my legs in VR.
Do you?
Yeah, especially when there's someone else's legs there. It's great.
That's good.
Yeah, it's great. It's a good time. You see Star Wars pants on your legs. You're like, wow, look at that. Star Wars pants.
I love to look at my legs in VR. So once again, this stream is presented by Star Trek Discovery on CBS All Access. So be sure to check that out if you enjoy space, which I think you do if you're watching this. And I am Brian Altano. That is Max Scoville. And for the next 40 minutes or so, we'll be playing the first chunk of the campaign in Star Wars Squadrons, which is out today on PS4, Xbox One, PC, and all your favorite VR devices. And after that, we're going to do a little post-show recap, talk about some Star Wars stuff.
I think we got some gameplay of the game in VR, as well as some multiplayer match to check out. Like not us playing, but we can answer as many of your questions as possible. And I also have some goofs prepared. I have some silly Star Wars nonsense that I'm sure some people will not be interested in, but you can go do whatever else. It's fine.
And once again, apologies for the stream quality. We are working on it. If we need to stop down and have a quick chit chat about Star Wars for a few minutes, we will do that and try to get things better. Just bear with us. Just hang out. We're doing our best. It's been a weird year, but thank you for spending some time with us today. This has been an interesting year for Star Wars in general because we're not really getting anything on the scale of a movie. We do have Mandalorian. There are a bunch of new toys and stuff like that. And then we have this game, and there's a few other little projects kicking around here and there for next year. But yeah, this is definitely a significantly more quiet year for Star Wars than I think we've had in 5 years or so.
So tell us more about the game. Let's talk about what's going on here. You're now in an X-wing. You've got the full suite of. Oh, look at that. It's a little bit blurry what I'm looking at this on, but tell me about the sort of HUD here and the different how you engage with your ship.
Yeah, so you've got your obviously your sort of radar on the top left. The top right is sort of showing you how well your ship is doing and stuff like that. You've got kind of your ship's health down there too, and then you have these there's these kind of passive and aggressive systems that you can kind of switch between. So as you can see right here, if I hit left on the D-pad, I can divert power to engines that will give me speed and agility. But I can also see those blue lights that popped up right there. So you have those 3 columns. They're red, green, and blue in the X-Wing. And by flipping between different ones, you can basically decide where you want to divert your power. So if you want to divert your power to lasers, you can do that. And so I just did that there, which is pretty cool. Like if you are, if you're trying to escape a situation,
you have limited ammo for anything, or is it all like rechargeable cooldown stuff?
Yes, yeah, basically that.
It's the latter. It's cooldown.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What about what about like proton torpedoes? Because those, I feel like those are a finite thing.
Yeah, yeah. So I believe you unlock those too. So they're basically running me through like a narrative tutorial right now and teaching me how to like work with the different systems, which is pretty cool. And so yeah, you're constantly, there you go. There's your missiles, right? And so you're pretty much always kind of micro manage and balance, kind of in a fun way, how you divert your power. Whether or not you want to escape from a situation, be really speedy. A U-wing has just helped me out, Max. I know that's one of your favorite ships.
Good one. Yes, so I know that one thing that's a huge problem for a lot of people is that there are no B-wings in this game.
Mm-hmm. Is that a huge problem for a lot of people?
People love B-wings. That's a popular ship. I feel like that's an unsung hero ship. Like, so I think I'm not wild about Y-wings. I know that some people are, some people aren't. I feel like most people who are okay with Y-wings are just like, it's fine. I'll focus on the X-wing. But there's always that there's always like the cool ship and the crappy ship for every movie. Like there's the the first one gave us X-wings. It also gave us Y-wings. And Return of the Jedi gave us B-wings, and everyone's like, there's kind of the unsung hero, but then everyone focuses on A-wings instead. So
yeah,
I think A-wings are cool as hell. They're like a fun little ship.
I think the design of A-wings is awesome, but it feels like historically in video games they can't really take a lot of pain and pressure. Like they get beat up pretty easily. But they're zippy and they're fast and they're cute.
They're a cute ship.
Isn't that such a cute ship?
Yeah. No, I think the B-wing is it's a clunker, but it's got a good personality. A-wings look like little mice. So, what are you up to now? What's going on?
So now I am following the Echo Leader, and I'm sneaking in underneath this giant Star Destroyer over here. And it's teaching me how to use my boost, which is going to be very important. And now things are heating up. Now we're getting into a Star War. I do want to point out the sound design in this game is phenomenal. Like, it's something I really do want to try in VR with some great headphones and just like really understand what's going on.
Yeah, I hope we get. I really do hope we get like an upgraded version of this for next gen. Because if they've got like a PS5 version, then again, we still don't know anything about that weird shaped box where like what it'll do with PSVR and whatnot. But
yeah, seriously,
if we get 3D audio and haptic feedback on a next gen VR game, that sounds incredible. Okay, so what's your objective right now? What are you up to?
They're still sort of like teaching me things, but I'm going to start taking down some Imperial fighters, which is going to be a good old fun time, a good old fashioned Star War.
Yeah. So how far in the game have you gotten? Like you've played. This is not your first time playing the tutorial.
Yeah, I've played about the first hour or so. So there you can see I just unlocked missiles, launching a few over at these boys, getting it done. And I believe that those kind of act as like power-up drops that you can pick up in space. Whoa. Wow. Getting hammered over here.
So you've got like a crack in your windshield and there's like smoke coming out of your chair, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, you can repair your ship on the fly, which is really cool.
Do you have an R2 unit?
I believe so, but I haven't seen them.
Oh man, I wish you could like look back and see it there.
Okay, so now I have to defend these refugee convoys against a slew of little TIE fighters, which are sort of like space ants,
Yeah, I've never been wild about TIE fighters, but they're like, I do appreciate how like totally novel of a design they are. Ooh,
there's my first death, first
nice,
explosion.
Beautiful. So you do get some third person. It's just only when you die.
Yeah. I've actually always really loved the TIE Fighter design. It's so simple and it's really unlike anything else. Wow.
I like the TIE Bomber and TIE Interceptor better. I think they're like very cool. I mean, like we have mixed feelings about every new additional Star Wars installment, but like I do appreciate that they've like repeatedly iterated on sort of the TIE design and like carted out like new like new mutated variations of that sort of
I totally agree
structure.
Yeah, I think one of my like biggest the things that like, and we've talked about this before, the thing that bugs me out one of the most things about the ship design in the sequel trilogy is that it's like mostly just like the vague repaints of existing ships. And it's like if you look at the jump in sort of industrial design and architecture that happened between the prequel era and the original trilogy, and then the jump between the original trilogy and the sequel era, it's just not as, it's just not there. Like
it's weird, yeah.
It feels like things got stagnant on the sort of inventive side, and that kind of bums me out.
Yeah, one of the more interesting, like, sort of logical leaps is that I know with the prequels, like everything is sleek and shiny and like kind of like weirdly overly stylized, and then you look at the original trilogy and everything's like super chunky and dirty and like beat up. And the logic for that, like concept artist Doug Chang was saying, like if you look at trains, like trains in the 1930s were all these beautiful, sleek, like Art Deco things. Then you look at trains now and they're just these beat to hell freight trains for the most part. Like there's, a used future is a thing that we technically live in. Like you get dirt and grime and stuff. It once looked sleek and high tech. D Ninja on YouTube says, watch EA put loot boxes on here. I feel like they kind of learned their lesson with that, or like I don't. They've definitely been transparent going into this of saying that there's no microtransactions and that they're
honestly
clear of that as much as possible.
If you look at what they did with Battlefront 2, where they really course corrected on that, if you look at what they did with Fallen Order, where there was basically nothing like that, and in fact pre-order bonuses that they had for Fallen Order were eventually given out for free to all players.
Yeah, I mean when they were like revealing Fallen Order, like what's his face? The head of Respawn basically came out, like the first thing he said was like, "No microtransactions, not in there." Like some people get it. I think there's like, higher ups who are just like, we can rob them blind and buy new yachts. It's like, oh man,
dead again.
He died.
I'm getting beat up out here.
I saw somebody ask, I apologize for not getting this earlier, asking if there were bigger ships that you can just be a gunner on, and I think this is just focused on like smaller, like dogfighting, single cockpit ships. Which I would love like a VR game where you get to switch stations in the Falcon, but I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I think we'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm interested to see if and how this game grows, right? Wow, that dude just flew right into me. So I want to point out, I am not really getting shot a lot. Multiple TIE fighters have just decided to just fly directly into my face, which is, I think, a cheap tactic. Like that is some kamikaze-ish.
They're not too smart. I don't know. Again, apologies for the stream lag. We're doing what we can. Thanks for bearing with us, and I appreciate everyone's patience. Come to look at the spaceship. Again, we are presented by Star Trek Discovery, which we recognize the irony of that, but that is coming to all new season is coming to CBS All Access, I believe on. I have the date.
Okay, at that time I did get blown up.
You did get blown up.
Yeah. This game is tough. Like it is definitely tough.
Yeah, season 3 of Star Trek Discovery is coming to CBS All Access on October 15th, and we have a trailer for that a little bit later. We'll show you, and we'll also be talking about Star Wars some more. I think we have some gameplay of the VR mode, which it's always a little bit weird seeing a VR gameplay when you're not in VR, but you can use your imagination. much like you're probably doing if you're looking at this frame rate that we've got. Sure. Okay, so we are going to try switching some stuff around on the back end. I think we're going to queue up some B-roll and just gameplay footage and talk over that for a minute while we try to do the tech stuff. And again, huge thank you to everybody who is watching and tolerating our technical hiccups. You know, these things happen.
That's right. So, yeah, playing so far, I got to say, like, the controls are awesome. It's definitely tough, and you'll have to...
What difficulty are you playing on?
I think I might be playing on just like the regular. Oh no, I think I'm on veteran.
Oh well, okay, that might do it. But yeah, I imagine that they have, you know, probably an easy mode too for people who just want to go in the spaceship and go pew pew.
Yeah, I think right now we're looking at some footage of the game.
DBusB25 on YouTube says, how does this compare to Battlefront 2? Or Battlefront in general, I guess. I mean, it's only in first person for starters.
Yeah, I think like in general, it is the controls feel tighter to me in dogfighting for sure. And I feel like because that's the entire focus of this game, it makes it a little like it gives them an opportunity to sort of like focus on the kind of the nuance of each individual ship, which I think they did a really good job of in Battlefront 2. But because this is entirely about that and really nothing else, you don't really have to deal with like a lot of the extra stuff that they put in Battlefront 2. And to me, like the controls feel a little bit tighter. It feels a little bit more, I would say, like hardcore.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, I always thought that like Battlefront's entire both in the shooting sections and in the flying sections, it was very arcadey. Like it was very kind of deliberately video gamey, and I'm interested to see what a more sort of focused dogfighting, you know, not quite simulation, but you know, putting an emphasis on that. That seems cool.
One of the things I really dig about this game is the color palette. Like aesthetically, it's like really gorgeous, and I would say outside of the traditional sort of like used futury, you know, browns and grays of a lot of the Star Wars stuff you see, they really focused on like a lot of very vibrant, hyper neon colors and stuff like that, and it shows. Like it really pops.
I totally appreciate that. Do you know if there's anything that's within an atmosphere? Like I haven't been paying super close attention to this going up to launch. Like, is there anything that's like in a like where you're not, this sounds dumb, where you're in the sky instead of space?
Not so far, but I imagine there will be.
Okay.
Like I feel like there has to be. But there are, you know, obviously there's a lot of stuff like, you know, flying through the shrapnel of a Star Destroyer and all that fun stuff. I've admittedly not looked too much at the story campaign stuff because I don't want to have it spoiled for me. But I believe you can finish the campaign in a couple of hours, and I imagine it goes to some pretty interesting places.
River Keys in the YouTube chat says, I've played this game a bit, and I think the sound design is worth noting. It's pretty satisfying firing off lasers. I'm sort of barely hearing it on my end, but would you agree with that?
Oh my god, yeah, for sure.
What the hell? So this isn't us playing. This is someone else's gameplay. That was a shot of a protocol droid head in the corner. Full disclosure, we're running some pre-recorded gameplay footage while our producer sorts out our frame rate issues that so many of you politely pointed out. So whoever crashed there, that wasn't us. Don't blame us for that. And for those of you saying we need a better internet connection, we both have like gigabit fiber internet, but our the way we do like streaming at IGN remotely is this weird kind of Rube Goldberg contraption where we funnel it to somebody else who switches stuff remotely on both OBS and other different software. So it's a lot. Oh, is that a Babu Frick action figure? What is going on there? Look at that. You just playing the game? You just playing the game?
I'm playing the game, but yeah, you can
Right.
you can get you can unlock like bobbleheads and stuff like that to put inside of your ship, which is really cool. Like that's the sort of subtle customization that I dig. It's also weird to me, and Max, you and I have talked about this before, like Star Wars toys that exist in Star Wars. Like
It's weird. It's weird.
Jyn Erso had like a collection of like Stormtrooper dolls and stuff that she made, and a Tauntaun. And obviously, Luke Skywalker has that little ship that he plays with that isn't actually a ship that you see flying in Star Wars, but they made a toy of it.
I have this wooden Boba Fett. It's one of those like weird, I don't even know what you call it. It's those like wiggly wire things. Somebody brought me back this from Galaxy's Edge, and it's all the stuff they sell there is supposed to be like, canonical in-universe stuff, which means that they made it canon for people to have like wooden Boba Fett figures in Star Wars, which is just weird as hell. But I mean, you got like a wooden Stormtrooper figure in Rogue One.
Yeah. And so in this game, you can unlock like sort of like, bobblehead night style bobbleheads.
That's such a. I don't know how I feel about bobbleheads being canonical in Star Wars. D Ninja says, "Watch IGN give it a 10 out of 10."
We gave it an 8 out of 10.
We get an 8 out of 10. We already did. It's like, and we don't like. We're not reviewing it. It's just go. I swear, just if you're gonna come in here and be a jerk, just do your research. It's not that hard. So here's an interesting one. Kirby Ong says, my first time getting back into PC games. What is the difference buying from EA, Epic Games, and Steam? That's a good question that I don't know how to answer. Maybe the chat can sound off on that, because I know there was a point where you could only get EA games through Origin. And I think you can still do that with this, but they also are selling it on Steam, and I think Epic Games.
There's also the EA Access thing is coming to Game Pass in November, so it'll miss this. But if you do have Game Pass, you could hypothetically wait a few weeks, and I believe you'd be able to play this there.
Yeah,
I don't know. Everything is so weird with subscription services.
I'm thrilled to know that video games are approaching the level of confusion that comes with trying to watch a movie on a streaming device, and you have to Google it first.
Yeah. Especially when you're in the middle of watching a TV season, and the first season's on Hulu, and the second season's on Netflix, and the third season.
That's a whole thing.
Yeah, that's always fun.
So again, Brian is having fun playing the game, and we're just checking out some. This is just some like footage from, I think, our reviewer who pulled this together, or just random gameplay here. And I haven't played the game yet, so I can't really speak to that. But I'm
bummed you guys aren't seeing this, because
Tell me about so you've got the sort of customization, sort of story HUD areas where, or not HUD, what am I saying? Hub, where you're like talking to people and you're checking out ships. What are those like?
So we're going to get to see those in just a minute, actually. And so that's all entirely in first person. And it's sort of like point and click adventure-y, where you basically just like it's very kind of passive, right? Like you're kind of looking around and facing different things, and you can interact with characters, and they'll kind of wink and nod and talk to you and stuff like that. But then you can look at your ship and go into customization, and from there it lets you sort of individually customize certain elements of it, and a lot of those are unlocked through gameplay, via story, or also via multiplayer. And so it's kind of like, if you think about any multiplayer game, you play a lot of it, you win a bunch of matches, you do a bunch of objectives, and you unlock different things and sort of characteristics and traits that you can add to your ship pilot or to your ship itself.
I appreciate that. Like we've got, I don't know, they've got toys on the dashboard and stuff, and there was a holographic Vader for a second. That's so funny to me. Nick Axley on YouTube says, I like the cosmetics for the Empire better than the Rebels. I think they missed just a little compared to the Empire's cosmetics. I like to think that it's like some workplaces are like, we like to have a cool cookie, do whatever the hell you want. Like put toys on your desk, go nuts. And some places are like, you are allowed to have one Dilbert comic pinned up in your cubicle, but anything more than that is just a little bit too crazy. So cool it over there.
I agree.
I feel like the Empire would definitely be like, you have a doll in your cockpit, and then like Vader would like Skype call you to strangle you with the Force. Joshua Alomar says, anything about this game being on PS5 VR? Anything announced for PS5 VR 2? Nope, just Sony being Sony, and just
yeah, they haven't said, man,
keep it on the DL.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to Podcast Beyond, which is our weekly PlayStation show here at IGN, you've probably heard I don't know, a whole roller coaster of emotions from us this year, from being excited about the PS5 to being not really sure what we all pre-ordered. Which
yeah, no, I mean, where like people are like, "You're a bunch of Sony sellouts. You're paid off. You're just always forgiving Sony," and it's like we've been like vocally complaining about them not saying more. So what about the Twinkie on IGN says a speeder section would have been sweet? I agree. I'm so bummed that we didn't get. There was the Battlefront one. Like there was like a training mode for speeder bikes that was just this little short on rails racing shooting sequence, and like it blew my mind that they didn't just drop like a simple racing mode. Doesn't have to be great, just like literally anything. Shadows Creed says, wish they used your own face to the character using photorealism, taking pics and detecting facial features to design your face using geometry and motion detection. I mean, we've seen that with, what is it, NBA 2K has that with Connect or whatever, and it scans your face, and sometimes it works, and other times it's horrifying. That would be an interesting feature in Star. I wish they would do that with Star Wars, but it would just turn you into a random alien.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That would be weird. Let's see.
Yeah, we are just troubleshooting a little bit over here.
Yeah, we're doing what we can, and this is. We have our top man on it. So this isn't you playing right now, correct? This is okay. So we just got like. I don't know, like an old IGN preview, I guess. Yeah, I'm apologies and thank you for bearing with us. I appreciate it. We do have the actual game, and we'll be playing in a moment. We're just trying to sort out the frame rate. Sure, yeah, we're gonna run some VR gameplay we can check out. Bruce Buckmaster on YouTube says, did you guys rate the game yet? If set, what did you guys rate it? We didn't review it, but Tom Marks did put up his review for just the single-player component, which is arguably half of the game. And I think he's still working on the multiplayer review. The single-player got an 8 out of 10, which is not a scientific declaration of how good or bad the game is. That is a summary of how much Tom Marks enjoyed the game, and he thought it was pretty well made. So yeah, I don't know. I'm cool to check it out. I'm also I'm kind of skeptical because I don't typically go for first-person spaceship stuff, but again, the VR does look at I want to throw up a little bit. That looks like fun. I love to puke. But no, I was actually joking. I think Chump Gamers on YouTube says, I played the game in VR last night. I really enjoyed it. Didn't get sick. Excited to get further into the game. I think it's interesting. This is we're hearing do you know how long the campaign is actually?
I don't. I think it's 5 or 6 hours or something like that. That's sort of what I remember hearing anecdotally.
Yeah, that's par for the course for a multiplayer AAA shooter, which I know some people complain about. But 5 or 6 hours in VR is pretty long. That's definitely, that does stretch things out a bit. Ben Robbins says, would you like to see an option in the future to make custom Starfighter skins and custom helmets? Hell yeah. Apparently there's a pretty good selection of custom stuff in this. Have you seen how stupid do the custom or the different ship skins get? Do they get weird at all?
Yeah, you can go full. You can make a fully pink TIE fighter and X-wing and stuff like that. I'm not sure if there's crazy tiger patterns or anything like that, but we'll see.
Wolf camo.
Yeah, one thing that kind of bummed me out is when you first start the game, you can pick a pilot, but they're all human.
Dude, that was hands down the worst part of Battlefront. Was it was oh, you want to be a Duros or a Rhodian? Okay, well, you got to be the best at the game. And it was just let people be a space alien, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're getting all sorts of answers from the chat here. We're hearing 7 to 8 hours, which is
that's awesome.
That's decent. Yeah. And then also 20 to 30 minutes per mission. And around 16 missions. That's reasonable.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Okay, so we're back to Brian playing, and it is still choppy because we're trying to sort things out because this is the year nothing works. So apologies. Yeah, Shadows Creed says right now this is a small game. This game can get bigger. I'm really interested to see what the sort of long-term plans to support this are, because we've obviously seen multiplayer games get like a ton of support post-launch. Even like, I don't know, like I feel like EA games get, and I don't know, they'll be, competent, albeit problematic games at launch, and then you check back like 7 months later and suddenly there's all sorts of like cool secret stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they added that weird like survival horror Ewok mode to Battlefront 2.
Dude, that right? Like,
did you ever play that?
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, and that's a game that it didn't really ship with a ton of personality outside of like the single player campaign, which was, just a few hours. Hearing that this has a like 7 to 8 hour single player campaign is awesome. That's kind of exactly what I'm looking for. All right, so now obviously it's a little choppy right now, but we are taking down a Star Destroyer piece by piece. There we go.
Shoot it in the balls. Shoot it in those big balls up on top there. Get it in the balls.
I really love shooting those.
Shoot that Star Destroyer's balls.
I got one.
There it is.
Oh, boom.
Whammo.
Yeah, that was close. I really
who's that in the hologram? Is that Akbar?
I believe so, or his brother or something like that. There's a lot of big
Robert
fish.
Akbar.
Those guys are never just calm.
Well, I mean, they're fish people, and the Alliance is like, we'll put you in like a bag of water and then have you give like PowerPoint presentations, and they come out and they're like, oh! It's like, I wouldn't want to do that.
Do they have water in their suits?
Yeah, they have like a big wet sweater, and they just fill it up.
I did not know.
No, they're
that.
actually very skinny, and then the reason that big puffy sweater is so big is because it's just full of warm salt water.
No,
and I'm totally messing with you. I have no idea if that's true or not.
I don't know. I mean, you know a lot of weird stuff about Star Wars. I wasn't sure.
Admiral Akbar's first name is Guile.
Really?
Yeah, not spelled like the Street Fighter dude, but it's like like I don't like the word dial, but with a G.
Oh look, 4 years later.
Oh, that's okay. Well, now it's.
So that was the destruction of Alderaan. And so it does some really interesting stuff in terms of storytelling here. Like this is going through basically the, almost like the original Star Wars arcade vector graphics, which I dig.
So it's just summarizing the original trilogy in like cool retro motion graphics mode?
Yes.
I should really get around to watching those movies one of these days. That'll show that Rebel Alliance. Shoot it. Shoot their logo.
Yeah, you should check out Star Wars. I think you'd dig it.
Yeah.
It'd be a fun time, I like this. I like how, I mean, it's like a very kind of cute and clever way to contextualize what the story is for our heroes and villains in the grand scheme of sort of the shrapnel of the Empire. So yeah, that was just the beginning of the game.
Oh man,
you know, yeah. So it's kind of like when you're watching a movie for like 40 minutes and like the title pops up and you're like, oh yeah, you guys didn't do that part yet. So this is the Vanguard Squadron right after the Battle of Endor. Now we're starting to get to see some aliens, including this one, which is a very, very gross alien. I don't like this one. I don't know what this is. It looks kind of like a raptor. And then you have a Trandoshan over here with his big lips.
I know. I saw somebody who was mad about that. There is a new Trandoshan that they're showing off that's a Jedi Knight in the High Republic book comic metaverse stuff they're doing. Like Trandoshans they've always been like Bosk, or they've been like bounty hunters, but I like that they're trying to be like maybe they're not all like carnivorous hunter dinosaur people. Maybe some of them are okay.
Yep.
Let's see.
So here we are. Oh, we got a Rhodian. We got a big fish.
Oh, this
boy
looks
over here.
great.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Now we're getting some stuff.
I mean, it's a cutscene, but still, like that looks like Star Wars. Bob Mass 09 says, shout out please, I love you guys. We don't actually do shout outs here, I'm sorry. Bob Mass 09.
I'll give you a shout out. Bob Mass 09.
I really don't think we should shout out Bob Mass 09. I don't think it's good to give shout outs to people like Bob Mass 09.
Yes, shout out to Bob Mass 09. Thank you.
Plague Master 308 says IGN have bad internet. Well, it would be IGN has bad internet, but we both have super fast, awesome, cool fiber internet, which is great. But we're running this through our producer's stream, who's managing this, and he's having problems with it. And it's also running through like 5 different programs, which is problematic. What is that?
I don't know. This is what I was talking about.
What is a...
Yeah, with the green eyes. I don't know if it's a new species. I don't know if it's a species.
Species?
Like species.
Hey, you ever see that Natasha Henstridge movie, Species?
Species. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching Star Wars Squadrons.
We're actually reading the chat, which sometimes really hurts my feelings. There is someone in here named Stacy Fox Olive Garden Employee of the Month, which is like a really funny handle.
Max, I want to show you a Gonk droid.
Ooh!
Here.
I love a good Gonk.
This is a character named Zerelda, which is sort of like if somebody was like a child was trying to say Zelda. Here you have that weird red alien.
Get out of here.
This is their name is Gunny.
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 Welcome to Vanguard Squadron. I'm Kyra Kuva. Commander's waiting for you. Happy to have you. Let's talk after the briefing, yeah?
So yeah, we can I'll show you sort of like how things work here. So that's about it. You don't really have like player movement necessarily. You just kind of point and click where you want to interact with, and it'll go there.
That probably is way cooler in VR.
Yeah.
Scott Frappier said, "Was that Deadpool?" You showed me that red alien earlier.
You said the same
and I
thing.
said the same thing. Like that's such a. Let's see. Airing House on YouTube says they should make Untitled Gonk game. I would play that so much. Like that would be.
That is such a smart idea.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Oh, I really like that
idea.
idea.
That would never happen, but that would just be such a.
How much mischief can you do with no arms, though?
I mean, you can. I knock stuff over. You can walk around and just go bonk, bonk.
You can step on people's things. So I imagine in VR this is awesome. Like to just kind of stand here and like look at this Trandoshan right here and be like, "Hi."
Hey, have you ever wanted to look at a dinosaur spaceman? Well, great news! Through the unlimited power of virtual reality, that reality can be yours.
This character right here, I do not remember their name, but I believe this is the first non-binary character in Star Wars, which is awesome.
That's cool. I saw so many people getting mad about that because it's like, acknowledges that real people have that. It's like, this is a game about dinosaur spacemen and wizards flying around in spaceships, levitating stuff. Like, maybe let it go. Maybe if it's a thing that exists here on Earth, it should be allowed to, live on a fantasy galaxy.
I agree. So yeah, their name is Kyo, and so yeah, we can kind of look around, race. Oh man, there's a I really want to play this in VR, dude. Like just kind of looking around.
Have you messed with the multiplayer at all?
No,
just single player. Okay, we do have some multiplayer gameplay to check out. We're not going to be playing it because the bad internet, but let's just take a look at that, I guess. And we can do our best to answer the questions.
That's right. Yeah, we mostly just want give everybody a heads up that this game is out. It's super cool. It's I think like really awesome. Like honestly, the fact that we got a 15-hour story-driven third-person action adventure Star Wars game last year that was like a little bit God of War, a little bit Zelda, a little bit Metroid Prime, and then this year we're just getting a hyper-focused dogfighting game. We're finally at the point where I feel like everyone who is a Star Wars fan is getting a little bit of what they look for in Star Wars games.
They're now making Untitled Gonk game. That's all I want.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, and anybody who's saying that we're paid off, we didn't review it. And also, as you might be able to discern by the large text on the screen, this stream is sponsored by Star Trek Discovery on CBS All Access, Season 3 premiering October 15th, which is
that's right.
Totally a separate entity from Star Wars Squadrons, presented by EA, which is not they didn't sponsor this stream. We're just playing the game that came out today. So I'm just putting that out there,
Yeah. Also, I mean, Max, you and I have been talking about sci-fi and space nonsense for, a decade together on various platforms.
Yeah.
And so
we like it when the dinosaurs are in the spaceship. It's great. It's a good time up there.
It is a really good time. So yeah, we're looking at some multiplayer right now, which is fast-paced, chaotic, and frantic as you expect.
I can't wait to suck at that in space. Yeah, I love that I'm really curious about like the weird customization, because that is the corner of like, I think that's how you make space stuff more interesting to me, because I'm an idiot, but like, you know, like I want to make a yellow TIE fighter. I want to, you know, I don't know if that's even an option, but I don't know. It was weird that like, with Battlefront, they were like, nobody wants a pink Darth Vader. And I'm like, have you ever seen the toys they make for Star Wars? They make like silver Darth Vaders every 20 minutes. They make like holiday version. They make like Santa Claus Yoda nonsense. Like just people.
Yeah, they just announced. We just covered it on our show Up at Noon yesterday, but they just announced an entire like sort of suite of Christmas themed stormtroopers. You
also,
know,
like trying to maintain, I think, a level of like stylistic like rigidness, or trying to like maintain immersion with the multiplayer game when there's dudes running around named like, you know, Bong Lord 420 or whatever. Like it's never, there's going to be always going to be people here on Earth ruining that illusion. So maybe just let people have fun, get weird with it. Sir Cerberus 21 says, can't wait to master the drift. Can you do the spaceship drift in this? I thought they had that in one of the trailers.
Ooh, maybe, yeah.
That sounds
awesome.
interesting.
Yeah, I haven't tried that yet.
And again, that doesn't, it's sort of doesn't make sense, but also so neither does Star Wars.
Yeah, it doesn't. Star Wars, you know, it's magic and it's fake and we love it. That's one of the best things about it. Yeah, we, you know, like we've been saying, this game is out on PS4, Xbox One, PC, and you can play it through various VR devices. We don't know yet how this will speak with or interact with or even upgrade via the next-gen platforms. If that's been announced somewhere and somebody in the chat has caught it, let us know. But I feel like a lot of the messaging around next-gen in general has been cloudy at best. I feel like on the Microsoft side,
was that a cloud joke?
Yes. On the Microsoft side, they've been pretty forthcoming with how game saves will work, how game upgrades will work, but we haven't really seen a lot of gameplay on the Series X. And on the flip side, on the PlayStation side, we've seen a lot of gameplay, but we have no idea how pretty much most of our stuff will carry over.
I love that I'm giving hundreds of dollars to a company that has not yet told me if the thing I'm giving them hundreds of dollars for will work with the big expensive hat I previously gave them hundreds of dollars for. It's like can I do PSVR? And if so, how does it work? And what does it do? And
yeah, I mean, I would like to play this game on PSVR.
That's
right?
very silly.
That seems like an easy, fun thing to do. You and I were both really into the, it was a short mission, but the Battlefront VR mission.
That was cool as hell. That was great.
Yeah. I really dug that. And so this entire game can be played like that. And with an 8-hour single player campaign and, you know, endless amounts of stuff that you can do in multiplayer, I'm into that. So this looks like the ring that they basically fly around that covers the big planet at the end of Rogue One, Scarif, which, so there's some stuff like that, which I'm into. I haven't really dug into the various multiplayer sort of settings yet, but I imagine it's pretty vast and expansive in terms of where you can actually visit and see stuff. So that's what I'm all about, because otherwise you get bored.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm seeing what's going on in the chat here. Somebody pointed out that there are a lot of hackers in multiplayer.
Ooh, that's not good.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that, but that's a thing to keep in mind. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully they iron out any multiplayer stuff, because I know that's it. I don't know. It sucks when a game launches with bad multiplayer, because it's hard to hammer that stuff out without, you know, massive betas and whatnot. And
yeah. I hope they take care of that. You know what they should do is, like, some of my favorite multiplayer games that have hackers and cheats, they put them like on a cheaters island. So I think they should put everybody in like one asteroid field where they can cheat with each other.
Yeah, that'd be good. God, I want to try this in VR. Spencer Harris says, "Can you use the bomber? Can you fly a TIE bomber in this?"
I don't know.
Yeah, I think I don't want to speak for that, because I haven't played it, but I know they snubbed that B-wing. People are very cross about that. The B-wing community is just outraged. They're just they hate it. Y-wings are in there, which is I think that's just grandfathered in there. It's just an old ship.
I can pull up a list right now, actually.
Cool.
And let you all know. So for Starfighters, basically on the Republic side, we have a T-65 X-Wing Starfighter, a BTL Y-Wing bomber, an RZ-1A wing interceptor, that's the A-Wing, and the UT-60D U-Wing support craft. So 4 main ships. And on the Imperial side, the bad boys, we have the TIE LN Fighter, the TIE SA Bomber, the TIE IN Interceptor, and the TIE RP Reaper. So the Reaper, you've seen that one before. It's like the angular one with.
Yeah, that's the Rogue One. I like that this is like a good balance of like original trilogy and then a Rogue One ship on each side to kind of help even that out.
Yeah, and I think like everything else in this experience, they went for like a very hyper focused thing. They really want you to get down to the main sort of types here and work with them. I think Battlefront, if you look at the way they had different kind of trooper classes, I think that's something they went for here too. And then micromanaging the sort of push and pull between making your ship aggressive, making it weighty, making it fast and slick, making it be able to shoot 1 billion lasers, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. The Remedy 87 says, how does it feel to control? You said it is pretty tight.
It's tight, yeah, for sure. And you can obviously go into the settings and tweak things a little bit, but it's definitely pretty much like there's no lag, there's no delay. It feels really, really good when you just push the stick in the direction you want to go. It is definitely like very, very almost pixel perfect. Like when you want to do your sort of like pitch and yaw and all that stuff and rotate. I find myself like just kind of accidentally tipping a little bit and then flying diagonally for about 10 minutes before I realize it, because it's that sensitive. But I think you'll dig it. If you've been playing dogfighting games your whole life, I think you'll be really into it. If you want something that's a little bit more arcadey, it might take a little bit of getting used to.
Ed Quinn 8 says, I'm a Blast Fools and Pod Racer. They did just put Pod Racer out on like on all the systems, I think. I don't know if that's a remaster or what. I don't know if you can even blast fools in that. I think you can flash your jets like Sebulba maybe, but like that's not really a blasting game.
No, that's true. Now, as we've been mentioning, this stream is powered by and presented by Star Trek Discovery on CBS All Access, and we are actually going to check out a trailer for that in just a second, because you can't have enough space stuff, and it's important. Space is big, and Earth is not great, so it's good to go into the fantasy town and just go see what's out up in the skies.
Yeah, do we want to take a look at that right now?
Yeah, let's take a look at Star Trek Discovery.
So after following Commander Burnham into the wormhole in the second season finale, Season 3 of Star Trek Discovery finds the crew of the USS Discovery landing in an unknown future far from the home they once knew. Now, living in a time with uncertainty, the USS Discovery crew, along with the help of some new friends, must work together to restore hope to the Federation. You can catch the new season premiere of Star Trek Discovery on October 15th, exclusively on CBS All Access. Let's take a look at that trailer.
Let's show them who we are. We traveled into the future. 930 years. A one-way trip. No going back. Welcome to Discovery. Come in. Discovery, did you copy? You have reached year 3188. Is there life here? Anywhere? Multiple life signs detected.
We are completely disconnected, but we are also together.
You know, from around these parts, the Federation mostly collapsed after the burn.
What's the burn?
The burn was the day the galaxy took a hard left.
The Federation isn't just about ships. The Federation is its people.
I've always believed that you were out there somewhere, and that we were a part of the Federation no matter what. Welcome to the future.
Dysfunction aside, you all make a pretty good team.
Dysfunction is the team.
We've just accepted it.
No, we haven't.
True believer.
Yeah.
Time traveler.
There was no other way.
The thing is, you got no authority here.
Let's show them who we are. gave us the resources and the mandate to solve the biggest, most troublesome problems in the galaxy. And I may question, and I may fear, because the problems often seem insurmountable. But haven't we always risen to meet them? We have work to do, but if things were easy...
It wouldn't be worth it. Huh?
That was a look at Season 3 of Star Trek Discovery, which is premiering on CBS All Access on October 15th, and they sponsored our Star Wars Squadrons live stream, and we do realize that's a little odd, but we're going to talk about Star Wars some more now. I figure everyone in the chat, if you have any questions about Star Wars Squadrons based on the amount of time we've played, like Brian, you've had a little bit of hands-on time, you've played around with it. Yep. But let's chat about that, I guess. We can check out some of the VR gameplay while we're doing that. But
yeah, I will say I really dig it. Like it's honestly, like when I was first playing it, I was kind of like a little apprehensive because it is like, you know, for me personally, I've always been more of a boots on the ground Star Wars fan, right? Like I love running around with a blaster and a lightsaber, doing flips and, you know, chopping off stormtrooper limbs when they let me do that. And dogfighting's always been sort of secondary to me, but I'm getting better at it, and I'm really growing to appreciate what this game is trying to do in the story it's trying to tell. And the fact that it is this relationship between you and your ship is like really special and cool. I think that gets lost in a lot of the other Star Wars games. But watching your ship take damage from the inside, watching all the little sort of like lights and alarms start blaring and going off, micromanaging little parts of it to kind of like boost your shields and boost your lasers and boost your boost. Like all of that is really, really cool. Like it's, they definitely nailed it. And this is based on the fantasy world, right?
I mean, so we're checking out.
I can't tell you this is like, you know, being inside a real car. It's being inside a fantasy ship, but they did it.
I asked this earlier, but we're checking out some VR gameplay, and you can look over your shoulder and see your little R2 unit back there, which is
nice,
really adorable, and I'm super into that. We got a question here from CS Sherman on YouTube, who asks, "Will each ship feel different when you fly it?" You got a chance to tool around in a TIE fighter and also an X-wing. Did they feel noticeably?
Yes, definitely. I think that's something that the team at Motive really worked on for this game. Because of the limited amount of ships in the game, they did want to make each one of them have its sort of own identity. And so I think people will kind of find their favorites. But the cool thing about sort of interacting with the different systems is that you're always working on that push and pull to decide whether or not you want to put a little bit more into your speed, a little bit more into your aggression and gunfire and stuff like that. And by hitting down on the D-pad, you can default and reset all of those systems on the fly. And so everything, you got this, it's kind of like whack-a-mole thing going on, right? Where you're like, all right, I want to put a little more power here, a little more power here. Think about it like putting points into a skill tree in a video game, but on the fly in a multiplayer dogfighting deathmatch.
But somebody else asked, let's see here. Suleiman Malik says the game looks beautiful, but it's mostly multiplayer orientated, so I'm not interested. It's got a hefty campaign. We're hearing like 7 to 10 hours, something like that.
Yeah. So I think like, I mean, if you're looking for, you know, like a $40 game to play right now with a, you know, 7 to 10 hour campaign, and you love Star Wars, I think this is, you know, you can't go wrong with this. If you wanted to wait for it to drop price a little bit and just crush through the single player game, or, you know, rent it or something like that, you know, you're free to do that too. Whatever makes you happy.
On Twitch, 1J Too Many says, does this scratch the Rogue Squadron itch?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I was talking about that with you, Max, earlier. I was a big fan of those games back in the day. One thing, though, is that it is entirely in first person. I always played those games in third person. I always like seeing the ship, but I am getting used to this one. And I think once I start like customizing the inside of, you know, the HUD and stuff like that with elements that I unlock through gameplay, it'll get even more comfortable. But yeah, it definitely feels Rogue Squadron-y. Rogue leaderish. I really like that. So yeah, like I said, it's the spiritual successor. I think by putting the word Squadrons in the title, I think that's what they were kind of going for from the jump here.
Mm-hmm. Lick My Node says that's not a hefty campaign. I mean, a hefty campaign for something that also seems multiplayer focused. Like usually it's I don't know, you get like 4, like what Battlefield 1 was like 4 or 5 hours. Like that's not.
I mean, Battlefront 2's story.
Apologies for saying it was a hefty campaign. A heftier campaign. Somebody's going to clip that out, and I'm going to get yelled at. It's not a 60-hour RPG. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Good lord.
Yes. It is. I mean, that is about twice the length of the campaign that we saw in Battlefront 2.
Exactly. Yeah, that was like a 5-hour campaign.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably crush through that in even shorter too.
Rex James asks, "Is third person an option?" It is not, unless you die and then you see an explosion, which is probably your soul leaving your body, turning into a blue ghost.
You do see your ship in the when you're down in the customization area, and all the everyone's walking around. You're in the big hangar. It's very vintage Star Wars. There's like astromech droids and gonk droids rolling around, and people holding space clipboards, having conversations and stuff.
I love the space clipboards. It's a huge part of Star Wars. 1J Too Many asks, "Do you think they will add ships?" I know that seems like a no-brainer. That seems like a very easy way to do things. Like I know that people don't want to pay extra money when you already buy a game, but like, I don't know if this developed like a decent multiplayer following and they were like, we're doing a season pass, you can get more ships or whatever, or like a DLC pack. Like, I don't think people would get too mad about that.
Yeah. So the thing is about this game right now is it's 4 ships on each side. And I think it's all about balance. Like basically every ship on the good guy side and the bad guy side sort of have parallels and vice versa. So if they were to add ships, they would have to add one to each side to keep things fair. That said, the team has said multiple times they are not doing, sort of microtransaction DLC stuff for this game. So if we do see additional stuff get added, I would like to think that it'll be free. That's always a good way to sort of like give a game a shot in the arm in sales. Bring it back up to the forefront of the store. So that would be really cool. But for right now, like there's no, and I've read a bunch of reviews for this game. Nobody is saying that this game feels like it's not worth the $40. Like what you're getting here is definitely a lot more than I expected. From the single player to the multiplayer to the customization options, there's a lot here to chew on for $39.99.
Yeah,
so I dig that.
Let's see. We got a question. Is this game in VR? This entire game is in VR on PSVR and compatible PC headsets. And if you think we are being big shills by saying it's people like it, the dark side of the planet, and our YouTube chat says if you love VR and you love Star Wars, you need to get this.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if you've always wanted to fly an X-wing. And
we
also,
were talking earlier about the X-Wing mission in Battlefront 1. But I believe was done by Criterion, was it?
Yeah, like if you don't want to spend $40 on Star Wars VR, like, and you have a PSVR, check out that Battlefront mission. It's really cool, and it's, I believe, still up for free.
Yeah, and so that should give you your sea legs for VR and give you an idea. But this is the full game. Like you can play, an 8 to 10 hour story in VR, which is absolutely nuts.
Red Hood asked, "Does Squadrons feel better than Starfighter Assault?"
Yes.
Good.
For sure. Yeah, definitely for sure. There's also, I mean, it's gorgeous too. Like this is a tail end of the current gen game. It's also on PC. Like it's absolutely stunning. Like this is a really, really good looking video game. And so I think that alone, in terms of immersion, makes a big difference. But I think the controls are really, really tight, and I think people are really going to dig them. Like I think this game is going to have like a really hardcore fan base. I think people are going to be like super invested in the competitive style of playing multiplayer in this game.
Let's see. We haven't played the PC version, so it's hard to speak for that. Tony Zoo says, Darkseid totally isn't a dev. Please fix Broken Online. He was also complaining about hackers earlier. I mean, the game came out, 11 hours ago?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that they're probably working on that. There's usually growing pains at launch and hiccups, and like I think they're hopefully on top of that, but it's time will tell. Yeah, we're getting some weird problems on PC users. Yeah, I mean, people will figure that out. Like our review that we have up right now is only of the single player component, and you can check IGN for the full multiplayer review once Tom has sort of, seen how things shake out. Yeah, because it's.
I will point out they hit a lot of really interesting personality in this. I have sort of like the hanger up on the gameplay I'm watching over here on Xbox One, and there was an announcement over the loudspeaker, sort of being like, "Hey, will the owner of the BD droid please come down to the lobby and get theirs? It's like doing some stuff."
Oh, I love that.
Something you you'd hear in a mall. But yeah, Tom Marks loves PC gaming. I believe he did the bulk of his review on PC, although he did test the other platforms as well. But like we said, yeah, he just played single player so far. But I do think the multiplayer is A, going to grow, and B, I think they'll work out the kinks. This is, it's always tough because games like this launch, and the most hardcore, most passionate audiences latch onto it on day one, and that's usually when things are kind of the most finicky or the most broken. And so I think people do have a tendency to kind of judge the game by the first day, justifiably, because that's when they had just made their big purchase. You drop $40, you want the online to work. And so I hope that they work out some of the little kinks, but in the meantime, play some single player until they figure it out, or give it a shot, see what happens.
Batman, who is known for his incredibly powerful crime-fighting computer, really wants to know the PC specs. We don't have those in front of us, but I would imagine it's Spooky says at least a 980. It looks like. You were playing on an Xbox One, regular 1X or?
Yeah, I'm playing on a 1X.
Okay, yeah, so it's
so I can pull. Here's the PC requirements right
here. Oh, cool, good.
So this is the recommend for non-VR minimum. That's Windows 10. 24 8-bit processor, Ryzen 7 2700X processor, Intel i7 7700, memory 16 gigs, graphics cards AMD Radeon RX 480 or equivalent, graphics card NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060 or equivalent, DirectX 11.1, multiplayer online connection requirements 512 kilobytes per second or faster internet connection, 40 gigs of hard drive space. That is for minimum. So if you have that, you can go above it, and that is also for non-VR.
That's cool. Yeah, and VR is a whole other conversation entirely. We had one question here. Shane Audette says, "Can I get away with buying a used PSVR headset to play on PS4, or do I need to buy all the stuff, camera, handhelds, etc.?" I think you need the camera to do basic VR stuff. I think.
Yes, I believe so, but I don't think you need move controllers.
You don't need the move controllers. I think you can just play with a regular controller.
Yeah, I mean, like between you and me, or between us and you, I would hesitate to buy a PSVR right now.
Yeah, definitely.
It feels sort of like we're either going to get a refresh that speaks well with PS5, we're going to get a price drop in existing models, something like this feels like the tail end of a transitional cycle. And I do think we're going to get some news on that. Also, until Sony tells you what's going on with how PSVR works with PS5, I don't know if you're, thinking about pre-ordering one of those or trying to, or if you did already.
I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to see a, PSVR 2 that is, totally retooled and made to work with PS5, and that we're going to see a lot of these games that have come to PC. Like there's the Medal of Honor Above and Beyond game that's VR. Like Ubisoft announced Splinter Cell. They announced a bunch of like AAA franchises that they're doing in VR, but they're kind of off in the corner. And I feel like it seems like maybe I have a hunch that they would come out with a PSVR 2 and they would have a massive launch lineup of big AAA VR experiences. Rather than
what they should do?
Yeah,
they should partner with Star Wars Squadrons and come out with a PSVR 2 D2.
Shut up. Get out of here with that.
Wouldn't that be great? It looks like the top of an astromech. Come on, that'd be awesome.
I hope that Valve does an orange box too, or a teal box, and they just package all of their weird VR stuff that now works for consoles, like they did with when Portal and TF2 and all that stuff launched on consoles, and they were just hey, surprise! Here's a crap ton of games in a little box. Okay, so we have a stupid thing prepared. This is dumb. I did a bunch of bad photoshops. If you just want to see gameplay, I understand, but don't say I didn't warn you. I figure we could talk a little bit about some of the more iconic co-pilots in Star Wars. Obviously, if you're flying around fighting the Empire or the Alliance in your X-Wings and or TIE Fighters, you probably want somebody cool as a wingman, and there've been some okay wingmen throughout this Star Wars history, but I figure we could kind of go through them, and I want to get your feedback on yay or nay on these. So let's start things off. Here we have, this is you. This is you and your future wingman. Let's find the wingman that's right for you. One of the most beloved Star Wars wingmen is, of course, Wedge Antilles. He's great. Everyone loves. He's Wedge. He's there. Look at him. He's there. He's standing in the same pose as you. He's got the helmet. He's got the blaster. So he can I guess, carjack somebody's X-wing if he needs it. But what are your thoughts on Wedge?
Great.
Great.
I love Wedge.
So that's a yes for Wedge.
Yes, definitely a yes for who doesn't love Wedge. Wedge is great.
He's fine. He's okay. I don't know. Like I feel like if I wanted a wingman, I'd probably go with someone with a little more style and panache.
I like he's sassy, you know. He's a little.
I go with a Biggs Darklighter, my friend. I want a cool, caped, mustachioed friend who gets his scenes deleted and his ship blown up in the first movie.
I think that's good. I feel like a cape is not a good fit for a ship. Like I feel like it's just a lot. It's like you know, it's like if you put a blanket behind you and you drove a car.
That sounds pretty cool. That sounds like a good time. Keeps you from getting crumbs and stuff in the upholstery. It's a good option.
Yeah.
I think Biggs is a good one. He's right there. Yeah, look at
these
that.
guys. They don't really snack in these ships, right?
Yeah, no. He has that, like Luke has that little Luna bar that Yoda steals.
But he doesn't eat it in
He's
this
got like
ship.
a whole tackle box full of like weird freeze-dried peas and stuff. He's always eating those things.
I know, but he like you would think he's like, you know, like truckers will have like they'll stop at a continue.
All right. So moving on, a classic, a beloved one, Jack Porkins.
Yep.
He would die for you. Like he's look at him. He's diving in front of a bullet for you. He would.
I think he's cutting somebody in line to get.
You think
lunch.
so?
Yeah.
That's horrible. You shouldn't say that. Jack
done
Porkins
that.
I think he's got a heart of gold, and that's why he blew up in that first film. So Jack Porkins, that's a maybe.
Yes, it's a maybe.
Okay, now here's a newer one. This is a divisive character, Snap Wexley.
Yeah.
He's Snap Wexley in there. You want to get Snap Wexley?
I don't know enough about him. Like everything in the sequel trilogy, he was there, but I don't really think I learned a lot.
Here's the thing. I feel like Snap Wexley is way too serious. I don't want to Snap Wexley in there, but regular Gregory Grunberg is an A-OK for me. I would have Gregory Grunberg be my backup dude any day of the week. That dude, I feel like he'd show up with cold brewskis.
Oh, he's awesome. Yeah, and he's got look at his jean jacket.
Yeah.
Could you imagine being in an X-wing with a jean jacket on and sunglasses? Man, that's the coolest.
That would be like the worst thing they could do in Star Wars is if they just had one dude in the entire galaxy who was just dressed like a regular Earth guy,
a regular man.
But then it would suddenly make like all the guys at Galaxy's Edge who were in just like regular dad clothes be like, oh, that's sort of canon now. That fits the Star Wars style guide. No, yeah. I think the real true answer, the one wingman you'd always want, the best possible space friend you could have in your ship, without question, is none other than Nine Numb.
Yes, Nine Numb.
He's great. We love him.
Yeah, I do have some issues with him because if you look at some of the making of stuff from the original trilogy, Nine Numb was basically the top half of a puppet controlled by a man who was sitting down, so he looked small. But then in the sequel trilogy, he is a full human person standing up in a suit, and he looks huge.
Well, here's the thing. This is the backstory for Nine Numb. Is in the Battle of Endor, he was 6 years old. Celestians age differently, much like the baby Yoda, and he was only 6 years old when Lando was like, "Hey, you want to be my co-pilot?" And he had no idea that was reckless child endangerment. But by the time that The Force Awakens came out, Nine Numb had grown into an adult man, and he was a whopping 5'7". I made all that up. That's not true.
You're terrible.
That's not true facts about space.
This is not. Why would you? You can't just lie about Nine Numb's age and origin and what. Why would
everything I just said was
6-year-old kid in it?
It's not canon. It's just it's my legends, my private Nine Numb legends that I made up.
You can't have private legends. That's not how that works. Those are called lies.
Private legends.
Private legends are lies.
Legends. There it is. Anyway, okay, so that was a load of crap that we just said. That was all made up nonsense. However, I do have facts. I have some actual facts to tell you about the history of Star Wars spaceships. A lot of this is behind the scenes stuff. This is some information that you can learn. This is real. I didn't make any of this up. This is actually research, hard-hitting journalism about the galaxy far, far away. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, so there's all sorts of red spaceships. There's the, Red Leader, Red 5 standing by and all that. And that's not an accident. The reason that there's so many red ships is that all of the ships were filmed on blue screen. That was how they did the special effects back in the day. They would key out the blue effect and they would make it so that it was stars or explosions or Hoth or whatever, which means that they couldn't have any ships with blue stuff on them. And so like, even though the concept art for the A-Wing had blue stripes on it, the A-Wing had to be red because that would have blued out. And this actually extends to R2-D2. And if you watch original versions of the Star Wars films, a lot of the shots of R2 in the X-Wing his iconic blue dome is just painted black. And they've since gone back and like digitally fixed that. But it is an interesting detail. And it's also kind of sort of amusing that when we got the newer Star Wars films where they're able to actually show like blue ships, like we got that in The Last Jedi, and we got Blue Squadron for the first time ever in Rogue One. So that's like a fun little tidbit about why we had a Red Squadron 40 years before we got Blue Squadron.
That rules.
Right? And speaking of Rogue One, here's a fun bit of trivia there. During the Battle of Scarif, obviously the movie takes place like 10 minutes before A New Hope starts. So it's pretty much in the same era of all the stuff they were filming back in 1976. And when they were making it, they went to Lucasfilm and they found a bunch of old film canisters. And Gareth Edwards was like, "What's all this?" And they were like, "Oh, that's Star Wars." And they're like, "What do you think? What do you mean the movie?" He's like, "No, that's just footage they shot for Star Wars." And he's like, "Is it archived anywhere?" And they're like, "None of that has been digitized at all." And so he went through this actual old film from the 70s and found unused, deleted scenes of random X-Wing fighters shouting off lines. So in that, cutting edge, super gorgeous, brand new CGI laden, special effects fest that is the Battle of Scarif, there's just a bunch of random inserts of dudes in the late 70s yelling at each other.
I love this so much. And if you watch this whole sequence with this fact in mind, you can sort of pick it out, but it's hidden so well because they masked out the sort of the insides of the cockpits that it's almost indiscernible, which I love that so much that there's just like random dudes from the 70s.
I love when they were making Rogue One, the casting call was like, "All right, dudes, grow out your 70s hair and mustache." It's like, we need to make this look like we're filming in the late 70s. Moving on, speaking of people you see in X-Wing cockpits in The Mandalorian, there's that one episode where a bunch of, I guess they're not even, they're New Republic pilots, a bunch of X-Wings show up and, cause a ruckus, and it's a brief glimpse, but one of them is played by Dave Filoni, who is, of course, the co-creator of The Mandalorian, as well as Rebels and the Clone Wars and Resistance and upcoming Bad Batch and everything. He has his fingers in all sorts of different corners of Star Wars, and he just popped up as an X-Wing fighter. And alongside him, on the other X-Wings, his wingmen are Deborah Chow and Rick Famuyiwa. I don't know if I can say his name right, but they both directed episodes of The Mandalorian. So
that's
nice
right.
Little tidbit in there, because I mean, if you can insert yourself in Star Wars, why not get to pilot an X-Wing? That's cool as hell.
And I believe Deborah Chow was or is working on the Obi-Wan show.
Yeah, she's working on something that isn't coming out for a cool minute. Here's a really good one. I love this tidbit so much. We're getting a little bit away from like Squadrons territory, but the first ship you see in Star Wars, the Tantive 4, the Rebel blockade runner that shoots out from under the Star Destroyer in the opening crawl, was what the Millennium Falcon originally looked like, to the point that there is concept art where the as of then unnamed ship that Han Solo would pilot, it was just called the pirate ship in early versions, that's what it was going to look like. It was going to look like the beloved blockade runner. However, a show called Space 1999 hit the airs, and they realized that the ship in that, called the Eagle, looks a lot like it. And so they gave an entire redesign to the whole thing, which was adorably inspired by a hamburger with a bite taken out of it that had an olive sitting next to it, which was the cockpit. And they gave it the name the Millennium Falcon, which, if you look at it, like, if you have an Eagle from 1999, like, what's a nice little switcheroo with that? You make Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
So
Man.
there it is.
Side note, who eats hamburgers with olives?
I think that was a weird 70s thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that was that. I can't imagine that was a good hamburger, but I'm just imagining like George Lucas in San Anselmo in like 1975 being like, "Oh no, space they made the Eagle. How do we fix this?" And just like looking lovingly down at this half-eaten burger and being like, "There's the clue."
It kind of reminds me of how they invented Pac-Man by looking at a piece, like a pizza that was missing a slice.
God, we should do a history of things that were inspired by food.
Inspired by food.
Now, this is a weird series of stock images here. The TIE Fighter, the iconic scream that they make, where they go, and they sound like drunk girls screaming out of a car window at a bachelor party. That was actually made by Benjamin Burt, who took a bunch of recordings of elephants. He didn't actually make them himself. They're from a 1958 movie called, it's an Errol Flynn movie about saving elephants. And he took specific recordings of elephants from that movie and slowed it down and then mixed it with the sound of tires driving over wet pavement and made that very iconic TIE Fighter noise, which you will undoubtedly hear tons of in Squadrons, which is kind of cool. But weirdly enough, it actually kind of goes full circle with where the TIE Fighter was sort of inspired by. When they were choosing the design, they wanted sort of a visual version of that noise that World War II bombers would make, that like high pitched like ah, which is called the Stuka scream. It's actually a very specific and deliberate noise that only a certain handful of bombers would have, and they basically put little propellers that would make a whistling noise to scare the crap out of people when they were dive bombing them. And so they were like, how do we make a vehicle that looks like that sounds? So they made the TIE Fighter. Joe Johnston designed it, and then of course Benjamin Burt was like, well, let's make it we'll make it sound like elephant noises, which sounds a little bit like those old dive bombers. But fittingly, when George Lucas was first editing Star Wars and those blue screen effects weren't quite finished getting comped, he would use footage of old World War II dogfights. So like the earliest versions of space battles were just cut together from footage of old World War II movies, which is
it's amazing.
I love that it all just goes full circle there. It's like poetry, it rhymes. So there you have it. There's some weird behind the scenes trivia to go with our dumb wingman photoshops. Anyway, I figured real quick, we've got a handful of the ships in Star Wars Squadrons. I feel like they're mostly the most. They are like the vanilla ships. They're like they're the basic, like they're kind of like, okay, these are everybody gets one. These are the cannon fodder, which is fine. They're cool, but there's so many weird ships in Star Wars. Some of them we've gotten to fly in games, but some of them we haven't. And I wanted to sort of talk about some of the stranger ones. So here are like a few. Let's start this off with probably one of the weirdest ships, period, in a Star Wars game. This is Count Dooku's Solar Sailor, which looks like an acorn when it's flying normally, and then the second it goes into space, it shoots out like a giant freaking space parachute. Yeah,
it's so weird. This blew my mind when I first saw it in Star Wars, because I was like, why would you have that?
It's so
but
it's
everything
so
about
gaudy,
this dude is strange,
He's got his weird his weird little umbrella lightsaber, and I feel like his outfit is fairly normal. Like he could almost pass in just like a regular fantasy show. Like he's got his cape. Like if I was gonna if I had to wear Star Wars clothes on like a daily basis and I didn't want to look that weird, I feel like Count Dooku's kind of an option, Like I'd be wearing a cape still, but like anyway, the point is his ship is very strange, and I don't think you get to fly it much. Probably because like I don't know what the cockpit situation is there, because you've got like a giant, like that's like if your drag chute came out in front of your car.
Yeah, I mean, and it looks like a dragonfly.
It's weird, and also he doesn't even fly it himself. He's got this weird droid that just looks like a crappy IKEA lamp that's like shifting gears for him. So
he's got like an Uber driver.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Count Dooku's living it up. Maybe he's got a good call there. Moving on, we talked a bit about how Trandoshans are left and right in squadrons, and that's cool. But let's talk about one of the best Trandoshan ships, which is Bosk's ship, the Houndstooth. Which
I love this one.
What does this look like?
I don't like. It looks like a sort of Japanese pencil sharpener.
I was going with office supply. Like I feel like it looks like if you were to make
a staple,
if you were to make an origami stapler, and you stopped halfway. This is such like a baby's first Lego set type of thing too.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it. It's funny.
It also looks like some of the weird ground ships that we saw in Phantom Menace, like those big kind of fat brown ones.
It does, yeah. I think it actually predates that by several years. Yeah. I think this is now canon, the ship. Like they made a little Fantasy Flight miniature of it. So that's, I don't know. I'm into that, but it's also like that's a big clunky ass ship that like you probably wouldn't get to fly much in a tight squadrons dogfighting type game. So I don't know what you do with that. Speaking of which, another like big, weird, dumb ship belonging to a beloved bounty hunter is one of my personal favorites, Boba Fett's Slave One. As you know, I have all sorts of Boba Fett accoutrement around me at all times. Just have you sitting here. That didn't even make sense. But yeah, Slave One is a totally weird ship. I remember one of the first encounters I had with a Star Wars toy was at some dinner party where like it was like my mom's friends or something, and they were like, "Go play with my kids' toys. They're from movies that came out before you were born." And I was like, I picked up Slave One, and I was like, "What is this? Like, where does the guy go? Like, because it doesn't make any sense. Because it basically like turns sideways and like puts its little flaps down, and it's just a strange ship. So I don't know. It
is weird because it's sort of like you're like in a reclining chair or sleeping on in a bed while you're flying it. Like when it's like facing you and it's flying with its like its little funny wings. Like it's like, yay, I'm Slave One. That's great. It makes sense. But then it lands and then Boba Fett's just like, Good night.
I mean, I think it like rotates down as he's landing, but even that feels like it would be sort of awkward. Like, you ever see those like weird Pilates chairs where they like put things around your ankles and they flip it backwards and your like back is supposed to straighten out? It's like a chiropractor. I don't know. I've seen them. They're like a weird, maybe sex thing. I don't know. Anyway. It's a weird ship to have to get into. I don't know if I'd want to be in. I think Slave One is cool as much as I like. Also, can we talk about how Boba Fett is supposed to be this like incredible badass, and then he also color coordinates with his ship?
That's cool.
That's like if you dress like your car. That's stupid as hell.
It is, yeah. It is.
Like,
it's cute.
I love Boba Fett.
It's got the little yellow accents, the shoulder pads.
But that means that he went out like he must have been flush with cash at some point. Between Attack of the Clones and A New Hope, and he was like, I'm going to go out, I'm going to get my outfit painted, I'm going to get new business cards made, I'm going to get my car detailed, I'm going to get it painted to look like, this is Boba Fett, this is my brand, I have vaguely Christmas colors, why not? And then,
I mean, he started an LLC, he's an independent business.
But then he just let it go to crap, like it's all completely beat to hell, and he's like, yeah, I got Wookiee scalps, I got like this weird baby blanket cape that doesn't even do much. Like, he's such a weird dude. I love Boba Fett, but also what's going on over there? That's a Star Wars story I want, is like when Boba Fett got Slave One painted and what was going through his head. Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. There we go. Here's one. We talked about this. The B-Wing. Everyone loves B-Wings. They're such a weird ship. They're definitely, I feel like, as far as the basic ships go, they're the weirdest.
I don't like that picture at all.
That's Ten Num, he's not. The weird thing is he has the same last name as Nine Num, but he's not related. He's just a different man. And those guys don't look great without hats.
Are they all named after numbers?
No, actually, yeah. I think the history with that is it was what it said on the call sheet. Like there was like the 9th and 10th people to get called, but somebody spelled 9 wrong, so they were like, screw it. Anyway, the B-Wing is a cool ship. I like how the cockpit rotates, and then the rest of it doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't look like a B in any way, shape, or form. It looks like a lowercase t.
It really doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I think it looks like a B if the...
They could have called it a T-Wing and called it a day, but instead in like, that nonsensical 1982 haze of whatever was going on in Return of the Jedi, they were like, yeah, that's a B. It's like, how do you write checks? Like, what is that even? Anyway. And then finally, let's talk about weird ships. The Death Star. It's got a hyperdrive. It moves.
That is a ship.
That like the fact that there's like the world's slowest like chase scene where Tarkin is like slowly rotating this dumb thing towards Yavin and being like, any minute now we're gonna shoot the hell out of him. And there's like dudes like flying around trying to blow it in the blast port. And he's like, yeah, all right, we're closing in, getting there, real close, getting real close to shooting the. It's just like you could have just made a smaller, equally evil sphere that maybe was just like a little bit faster. And instead they were like, let's make the Death Star 2, which is like way bigger. And it was like, I don't think size was the problem before. Like that wasn't.
Well, no, it wasn't. And by the time, that's why in Rise of Skywalker, they're like, all the ships have little Death Stars underneath. We got little Deathies and you can blow up anything you want, anytime you want. It's a really good time. Have a great time. Get out there and shoot out the big bad boys out of the sky.
Anyway, so that yeah,
we don't talk about that movie.
We don't need to do that. Anyway, so yeah, if you want to check out all sorts of fast-paced spaceship stuff, there's plenty of places to do that right now. You can go check out Star Wars Squadrons, which is out on PC and PS4 and Xbox One. We're playing a bit of that. If you want to check out a review, we have that up on IGN. If you just want to see some gameplay, we also have that up on IGN. And if you don't trust IGN, you can also go read like Steam reviews or Metacritic or whatever. Huge thanks to Star Trek Discovery, which is Season 3 of which is premiering on CBS All Access on October 15th. We realize a little bit weird to do Star Trek and Star Wars at the same time, but you know what? It's been a crazy year. Let's mix it up. The important thing is that escapism and spaceships are a fun thing. So thank you to everybody who watched and hung out in the chat and put up with any technical hiccups and or bad photoshops.
Yeah.
We'll
see you soon.
Yeah, we're gonna kind of wrap things up here, but also huge thank you to Brian for playing Star Wars Squadrons.
Of course, thank you to Max for photoshopping several aliens, including Ten Num, who's bald. I didn't know that. It's weird. A lot of Celestians on this stream today, and big thanks to our producer Alexio for troubleshooting all of the weird technical problems we had behind the scene. We will be around. Everybody have a wonderful Friday and the rest of your weekend, and take it easy. Bye.